Hey, what's up, guys? So we're here at the Escort booth at SEMA, and here we've got Joe Sherbandi back. He's the product director at Cedar Electronics. And we're going to go ahead and take a look now at the new Redline Ci 360C.
Yep.
And kind of get more information here about this radar detector.
Well, good to see you again, Ariel.
Good to see you as well.
It's that time of the year, right? We're back at SEMA, and yeah, very excited. We launched the Redline Ci 360C earlier this year.
Yep.
Quite a mouthful, you know, as you kind of throw out the name there, but a lot of different aspects about this that we were super excited about this year. So, you know, on the radar side, we've put the well-known Redline 360C radar antennas into this new product. And while doing that, we reduced the size. You know, we really tried to take an approach of both putting in, I'll say, some killer things for our customers, but we also tried to factor in some improvements for the dealers doing the installation as well. So
when you say smaller size, is that relative to like the Max Ci?
Relative to the Max Ci, yeah. So it's about 40% smaller than what the radar receivers were on the Max.
And I've noticed now the front and rear radar detectors are identical, unlike on the Max Ci.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just figured, hey, at the end of the day, great range, both front and rear, but a lot easier to do replacements when you start to have issues with the unit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so compared to the windshield mount Redline 360C, performance, filtering should all be the same?
Similar performance, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know this has dual antennas now for the rear antenna, unlike the windshield mount, so like X-band arrows should work properly on this one too.
Yep, and true stealth for both front and rear on this one.
Yep.
Yeah, and then, you know, one of the other things that we've added on for this is just a reflector plate.
Okay.
And so for dealers doing installations on G-Wagons, McLarens, anything with carbon fiber front basically, they're able to take the radar receiver and flip it vertical and have that reflect the signal into there and still get some great performance with it.
Nice, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we've got that on the radar side. The interface is very similar to what we had before with our Max Ci 360, except we've now added Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
So for cars that have the convenience of Wi-Fi in them, dual band Wi-Fi, people can do both their updates from there or use the posted speed limits.
Yep.
When connected to Wi-Fi. Some people like to do the updates from the convenience of their driveway. So either way, you can do it at home now instead of having to go into the dealer to do the updates.
I definitely prefer connecting over Wi-Fi for all the cloud stuff compared to Bluetooth.
Me too.
Yeah.
Gotten a little spoiled with it. So, you know, and some the other changes that we made was with our laser shifters. So with the Max Ci 360, you could do up to 4 laser shifters previously.
Yep.
Some cases people could modify the rear to get to a 3.2 configuration. So now you've got 6 dedicated ports. We use transceivers and transmitters with this newer configuration.
What's the difference?
So the transceivers can both receive and transmit.
Okay.
And the transmitter is just a dedicated transmitter for jamming the signals.
How can you tell? I mean, they all look the same. Like, how do you tell which is which?
So intentionally they look the same, but really it's with the cabling and going back to the bridge box. Typically on a car, let's say where you're going to do like a 3.2 configuration, you're going to have 2 transceivers. They're out towards the outside near the headlights, the reflective surfaces. Transmitter's going to be in the middle. And then on the rear, it's basically just going to be 1 and 1 off the corner of the license plate.
So you said it supports 6 heads total, so it comes with 5 in the box, and if you want a 3rd rear head, you could add it on?
You can do that, yeah. So typically where you might see that is on an SUV or a truck where it's a larger front end. So people may go to 4 shifters on the front.
And then like 2 in the rear.
Yeah, it's about geography and just covering that off. So
I like the design of the heads. I know these are smaller than like the previous Shifter Max.
50% smaller, yeah, by volume on that.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and we've done some improvements on that new mounting system that we have for those that makes it a lot easier to put that in. So again, trying to focus a little bit towards improvements where we could make that for the dealers. I mean, obviously, laser is such a sensitive part of the vehicle in terms of making sure these are straight, level, and true. So we wanted a bracket that we thought would really make this easier for the dealers to do the installations.
How about as far as like performance with the new shifters compared to the previous generations?
You know, to me, you know, these are a little better, but they're still pretty good compared to the older ones. It was more about, I think, geographical coverage on the front end in terms of having more shifters to reduce the risk of punch through basically that you might have.
Have you seen any differences to performance against like stalker guns, True Speed S, Dragon Eyes, etc.?
We haven't, no. So, but we're continually looking at that and testing it and trying to make improvements where we may see a need for improvements to be out there at this point. So.
And then the controller and display, this looks like the same thing that we've had on the Max Ci 360.
Same thing, yeah. So GPS, button controller, and the display are all the same. And that was by design because ultimately we wanted to allow some of the Max CI customers to be able to do upgrades for their systems.
So how does that work? Like I've got a Max CI 360 in my car and I want to upgrade to the Redline. Like what parts, wiring, cables, components, like what's compatible and what has to be swapped out?
So what is compatible is the display, the button controller, and the GPS.
GPS, okay.
And then with your unit, you'd be able to continue to use your interface that you have on there right now.
Okay.
And so let's say option 1 is you can keep your existing 4-port bridge box.
Okay.
Keep those laser shifters, and you can swap out the radar receivers.
Oh, so basically a radar only upgrade.
Radar only, if you want to do that.
But that's still Bluetooth only.
That's still Bluetooth only.
Okay.
Option 2 would be you can swap out the radar receivers, and you'd have to switch out the bridge box, so you'd go from the 4-port to the 6-port and the new shifters.
What about the wiring between like the shifters and the bridge box?
Different now.
Different,
Yeah.
so you'd redo that.
Yeah, you'd have to redo that. So, basically, some of the questions I get around that might be, can I use the old shifters with the new 6-port? And you can't. You can't use the 6-port bridge box with the old laser shifters.
Makes sense.
And vice versa. You can't have the old bridge box and put in new laser shifters.
So you're swapping out like the full laser system.
Yep.
And then if you wanted to like add the Wi-Fi capabilities, would that be like a CPU upgrade?
Just a swap. Yeah,
Okay.
you'd actually switch the interface out.
So would you then keep, I guess, like the power cable? Like what would you basically keep if you wanted
All
a
the
full
cabling
upgrade?
would be the same.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're good with that. So once you have, let's say, the receivers in place or whatever you're doing change-wise there, everything still plugs into the same ports that we had from before.
For the radar heads, would it be like the same cables like that
Yeah.
quick release? So that would still be here.
Correct.
So you just do the quick release and then swap out these.
That's it.
Okay, perfect. That's
Yeah.
nice that you got the, I know previous generations you had to pull all the cables and everything, like 9500 CI.
Yeah, and we had, going back to our 9500 customers, that was one of the things they were upset about when we came out with the Max CI 360 was, they had to get a complete new system basically if they wanted to go to a new system. So we really designed this so that the Max CI customer could do the partial upgrades and get the benefit in the new product.
So I've also seen like the Redline CI, the radar only package, like that's now available a la carte and you can like build on.
That's correct, yeah. That actually came out at the same time.
Okay.
But as we were getting this into the market, we were shipping mostly all of the Redline CI 360Cs.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they were all designed at the same time. It's the same concept essentially.
The same thing, perfect.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And that's really, when people ask about the extra C, it's the connected piece, that's Wi-Fi, that's what that C stands for.
Makes sense.
So
what about, I know you've got like a bunch of other detectors as well, like what about updates to your existing windshield mounts, custom install, just other products as well?
Yeah, so we're doing several updates right now, and a lot of feedback from customers. So one of the first areas we're going to be doing some of our improvements, if you will, is international. So
okay.
we've had a lot of customers when we did our last firmware update had talked about the Gatso
some of the photo radars.
RT4, going off a lot of false alerts, and that was really targeted at I'll call it a unique version of that in Australia.
Yeah, there's different versions of the Gatsos.
Yeah, so we realized that the algorithm we had in there was causing some problems.
Okay.
So we're actually going to pull that out. We're going to revert back a little bit, and we're going to redevelop that, get it a little cleaner, and then that'll be a future release again at some point in time. But
gotcha.
Right now the update's going to be about trying to pull that out. We've got a new gun in Spain that's actually from a Chinese manufacturer called Dahua.
Okay.
And that's going to be, we're putting that into the European release that we're going to have out there. So, yeah, a couple releases there. On the, I'll say overall for all of our products, we are going to be doing some updates, I'll say around DSP.
Okay.
So, trying to look at response times, things like that, just previous conversations, trying to push the limits. So I'll say I'm excited about where we're going to go with this, but it's going to be a little bit yet, but that's on the horizon right now for us.
So for the DSP updates, would that be for like the Max 360C Mark IIs,
everything,
Redlines,
anything with DSP that we've got, the Mark IIs,
all the like black fin
Redlines.
DSP detectors?
Yeah.
What about for the Max Cam? That one too?
that has the black fin in it. So yeah, that would apply for the Max Cam as well.
Okay, perfect.
So.
What about then on the Cobra side?
Yeah, so on the Cobra side, we've got the Rad 700i, and a lot of great reviews that we've got since the launch of that product, but we want to do a little better with it. So The first area that we want to do some improvements is the brightness.
For the
You and I
display
had talked
brightness.
about that, yeah.
Yep.
I'm excited about that because we've got much more rich colors, very similar to what you see with the Escort product. So daytime driving wise, this will be a, no pun intended, night and day difference in terms of the brightness that'll come across. Another thing we're working on is the signal strength, the ramp up. So we're getting a cleaner experience for that. So similar things, again, we've talked a little bit about before. We just want to make sure that, you know, as people are getting closer to the threat, it feels, as they look at the signal strength indicator, perception-wise, that it actually feels like you're getting closer to it.
That makes sense.
And, you know, other stuff that we've got on there, MRCD, MRCT.
Okay.
We did the on-off switch, so that's going to be
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, right now we had that as a default.
Just yeah, on by default.
Yeah, so so that's a few of the changes we've got coming down the pike.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for sharing about like the Redline, the updates that we've got kind of coming in the pipeline. So
Yeah, absolutely.
awesome. As always, thanks for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, guys. And we're here with Joe Sherbandi. He is the Director of Product Development. Product Director?
Yep.
What was it?
That's Product Director.
Product
yeah.
Director. All right. Hey, what's up, guys? So we're here at the Escort booth at SEMA, and here now we're gonna. Wow.
I'm glad to know it's not just me on that one, man.
Sometimes
Thank
it
you.
might be like, I'll do 10 takes and I gotta stop and like, all right, I'm just.